Picture this, it's past midnight in Carlton House, London, 1820. The chandeliers still burn, casting gold over marble floors littered with half-empty goblets and wilted roses. Perfume mingles with the heavy scent of spilled wine and smoke. Laughter echoes through the corridors, not the laughter of joy, but of people too rich, too lost, to stop pretending they're alive. At the center of the chaos sits a man draped in silk and diamonds, his cheeks flushed crimson, his powdered wig slightly askew. You recognize him immediately, the Prince Regent, now King George IV of England. His table groans beneath silver platters of pheasant, oysters, sugared fruit, and champagne. He raises a crystal glass, slurring a toast to beauty, pleasure, and the death of boredom. Around him are mistresses, courtiers, and artists, some famous, some forgotten, all feeding off the excess of a man desperate to drown his loneliness in luxury. Outside, London sleeps under soot and fog. Inside, a king feasts himself into ruin. The king who mistook indulgence for immortality. Before we can understand this night, before we can see how the most dazzling monarch of his age became a symbol of corruption and decay, we must step back. To a time when he was not a king, but a lonely, brilliant, broken boy, desperate to be loved and terrified of being forgotten. You are born into splendor, the golden heir to George III, destined to rule the greatest empire on earth. But even as a child, you crave attention like oxygen. The court whispers about your charm, how you can make anyone adore you, and about your vanity, how you can't bear to be ignored. Your father, George III, is strict, moral, and often absent, obsessed with duty, disgusted by excess. You are his opposite, impulsive, emotional, and endlessly hungry for life. Every rule he enforces, you find a way to break. You spend your youth surrounded by tutors and silk, but the books bore you. You prefer theaters, music, and the company of actresses who call you darling instead of your Royal Highness. At 18, you begin your first rebellion against sobriety, against restraint, against your father's image of a perfect monarch. You become the Prince of Pleasure, the future King of Scandal. When desire becomes defiance. Before the crown ever touched your head, your downfall had already begun. It starts, as all tragedies do, with love. Her name is Maria Fitzherbert, a Catholic widow with dark eyes and quiet dignity. You meet her in a salon, and from the moment you take her hand, you are consumed. But love, for you, is never simple. The law forbids the marriage of a Protestant heir to a Catholic. And yet you do it anyway, in secret, under candlelight, with trembling hands and whispered vows. For a moment you believe love can conquer crown. But the morning comes, and reality returns with it. The marriage is illegal, invalid, and dangerous. If your father finds out, your future is gone. Still, you keep her portrait hidden in your rooms, a memory of a happiness you were never meant to have. The people will never forgive your extravagance. The church will never recognize your marriage. And your father will never forgive your defiance. Love, when forbidden, becomes poison. It's not long before the poison begins to spread, through your heart, your court, and your country. The years blur into decadence. You host masquerade balls that last until dawn, filled with actors, courtesans, and nobles competing for your favor. Your debts spiral, clothes, jewels, gambling, palaces. The newspapers call you the first gentleman of Europe. And you believe them. Your charm becomes your crown. Your palace, Carlton House, becomes your kingdom, filled with art, mirrors, and endless wine. But your father descends into madness. And when the Parliament names you Prince Regent, you finally have power, real power. Only instead of ruling, you begin to perform. You treat politics like theater. Ministers come and go. You chase flattery instead of reform. The empire runs on habit while you run from loneliness. Power without purpose. And in the shadows of your glittering reign, a darker truth grows. Your body, like your empire, is beginning to decay. You were once handsome, radiant, magnetic, admired by everyone who saw you. But years of excess take their toll. Your skin bloats, your waist expands, and your appetite grows monstrous. You eat for comfort, drink for courage, and surround yourself with mirrors to remember who you were. Your tailor cannot keep up with your measurements. Your doctors beg you to stop, but you can't. You have become addicted not to pleasure itself, but to the image of it. You host feasts that could feed villages. You parade jewels while the streets outside rot in poverty. The people begin to mock you, cartoons show you as a bloated fool, a parody of kingship. Yet you refuse shame. You build Brighton Pavilion, your pleasure palace, a fantasy of domes, silk, and excess. If your body is failing, you will make your world beautiful instead. A man who could not age with grace. But beauty fades, and when it does, all that's left is the man behind the mask. Duty comes for you again, in the form of a woman you cannot love. Princess Caroline of Brunswick. Your arranged wife. You meet her once, recall, and drink yourself unconscious on your wedding night. The marriage is a disaster before it even begins. You live apart, mock each other in public, and both take lovers. When she gives birth to your daughter, you barely acknowledge the child. Your court becomes a battlefield of rumor and scandal. The people, disgusted by your cruelty, side with the queen. When you try to divorce her, London riots. Crowds chant her name, not yours. The king of indulgence becomes the villain of his own story. A throne divided by hatred. And yet, even as the nation turns on you, you cling to luxury, because it's the only thing left that doesn't betray you. When your father dies in 1820, you finally become king. You thought the crown would heal the emptiness. Instead, it amplifies it. You are too bloated to ride, too paranoid to trust, too bitter to love. You surround yourself with flatterers and mistresses, the only voices that still tell you you're magnificent. Politics bores you, people exhaust you. You live in your palaces, drinking, decorating, pretending. You speak often of your glory, but deep down, you know the truth. England doesn't adore you, it endures you. The empire grows restless, progress rises, and you fade. You are not the king of tomorrow, only the echo of a dying age. A king imprisoned by his own pleasure. But every echo fades eventually, and even pleasure, once endless, turns to ash. Your health collapses under the weight of your own indulgence. Gout, dropsy, obesity, every breath becomes a labor. Your servants struggle to lift you, your doctors lie to comfort you, and your mistresses vanish one by one. When death comes in 1830, you meet it not with courage but exhaustion. The man who once ruled with charm dies alone, surrounded not by family, but by objects, mirrors, silks, paintings, perfumes. The newspapers mourn you politely. The people do not. They say England's air smells cleaner the morning after your death. Even kings cannot escape their own reflection. But your story, your hunger for love, beauty, and escape, will haunt history forever. Every age has its George, a ruler, a celebrity, a person so desperate to be adored that they lose themselves in the performance. You were not evil. You were human, vain, lonely, brilliant, and afraid. Your tragedy wasn't that you had too much, but that nothing was ever enough. History remembers you as a caricature, a joke in silk. But beneath the laughter lies the truth. You were the warning of a dying empire, a king who mistook spectacle for strength, and pleasure for purpose. And as the lights of your palace fade, one question remains. What is a crown worth, when even your soul is for sale?